Okay, welcome back to building a $1 million a month business empire in public on YouTube for everybody to watch. Today is update number 20. It is currently the 22nd of April and it is 12 a.m. actually. So it's just about to become the 23rd of April. Now, if you're new here, this is a series where we build a $1 million a month business empire across a number of different verticals and things. And we also give a bit of an insight in terms of businesses. So insight today is 3 ways to motivate employees. It isn't just based on revenue. So let's jump straight in. It's going to be a quick video today, so let's just jump straight to it. So have a look. I mentioned obviously it's the 20th update, 22nd of April in Dubai. Game plan. So number 1, we go through Q&A. So if anyone has any questions they want to ask, drop them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them. We do a daily check-in on our company goals we're working towards. And then also a business debrief, which is the thoughts and sort of tribulations that we're going through at the moment, which obviously on this side of it is, like I said, that employee motivation. Now, for us, what we're looking for at the moment as a daily check-in. So our daily check-in at the moment, this month we had one goal, which was just to sign 10 clients and add 32k MRR. That is done. The second goal we had was to hire a tech person. They have just done their first training today and they're starting to go through things, working out really, really well. Super pumped to get out. There's a long list of stuff we're going to automate. And then our final thing we have at the moment is hiring a creative strategist, which we are in the process of. So that's how we're looking, which is good, and things on there. Like I said, signed those 10 clients. So we added 10 clients, 32k MRR. Super easy, 0 ad spend. I did a video on that. I'll put it somewhere on the screen. Click onto it. It's a really good video on how you can actually sign clients without spending ad spend. Now, let's jump into it. Let's have a look at it. So obviously our game plan for today, as I already mentioned, is to go through and how you can motivate employees without relying on money. Now, the reason this is important is there's 2 types of team members that you have. So the first type of team member you have is a mercenary, a merc. Let's do that. There's a mercenary and there is a soldier. So I actually heard this concept from a guy called Paul Daly, who heard it from Andrew Tate. So we're all regurgitating everything, but this explains it really, really well. So a mercenary is, in the military, somebody who is paid to be there, right? So a paid hand, paid for hire. So that's the first time of staff member you have. So basically, you pay them a lot of money, they'll stay with you, right? The second kind of thing you have is a soldier, and they're the one who are bought into the cause and bought into the mission, and it's not always about the salary and things on that side of it. So you can sometimes pay them less, but you'll find that their motivation actually ends up being a lot higher than, say, the merc. Now, the issue of a mercenary and having your whole team based around a mercenary is somebody comes with a better offer, they're going to go and they're going to pay for that side of it. So a lot of people think that money is the way to keep team members. Right? And the same way always getting client results isn't the way to keep clients. It's not always the way to actually keep team members and grow in there. There's a few things that team members need to be happy and to grow. So now, money does help, right? So money is a first. You have to be paying them a reasonable amount, right? Or giving them a route to earn more money, right? We'll go through that in just a moment or so. So giving them a route to earn more money is super, super important things. So that's step number 1 we have on there. Step number 2, we need recognition. So let's just put a trophy on that side of it. That's a trophy, guys. Come on, don't hate me on here. So recognition is that on there. And then the third thing, as it comes into it, is super straightforward, is generally some sort of progression, right? So progression, I don't know how we're going to represent that. No, we'll do a ladder, right? So some sort of progression on that side of it. Now, that can be roles, that can be responsibilities. It really, really depends on what you're doing. So first thing, monetary, right? So 1, you need to be giving them obviously a good salary, right? So that's number 1, is giving them a good salary, super, super important. But with the money as well, to keep them motivated, you need something that's tied to their outcomes. So for example, a commission structure and a commission bonus. So what you want to do is you want to give them commission based on their North Star or their goal. So let's just use our appointment setting team, our call center as an example. They're commissioned based on how many bookings they do and how many bookings they actually get in the diary. Super simple stuff, right? But you can use this for any role. So if you're doing a media buyer role and you know for the media buyer, their North Star is how many leads they get, then I would say, hey, if you get under a certain CPL across all of the accounts on average, you get a bonus, right? And it should be something that as they do it, it increases. So if they get, for example, a media buyer example, if they have 50% plus under a certain price threshold, if they have over 50% of their clients are under £3 CPL, under £5 CPL, they get a, whatever it is, $250 bonus. If 70% of them are under £5 CPL, they get a $500 bonus. If 85% are under it, they get like a $600 bonus. Something that basically puts more money in your pocket and aligns with something they have direct control over. So it's really, really important. It needs to be something they control directly, so they have ownership on it. You can't say to the media buyer, hey, we'll give you a bonus solely based on how many leads are closed, because they don't have full control over that. So they're not going to be motivated in. They need to be something they have full control over. So that's the first kind of bonus. And the second kind of bonus, now you can tie this to overall company growth. So, for example, this might be churn under X amount, right? Or it might be overall department growth. So, for example, for us, we're trying to hit $1 million per month in client revenue. So if we hit over a certain target as a team, because everyone factors into it, we do a team bonus, right? So this is more like sort of shared responsibility in terms of where the whole company is going. So again, find out for you what everyone's doing. It might be reducing churn. If we're under 5% churn that month, the whole company gets a bonus. If we hit a certain revenue number, if you've got performance-based marketing, the whole company gets a bonus. So you need two. You need a direct one that they can work towards, and you need a team one that they can work towards as well. So that's the first thing. The second thing, obviously, we come into is recognition, right? So recognition is super, super important, right? So letting people know that you appreciate what they do and how they do it. Now, you have a few ways to do this, right? And stick with me because it's quite important. So we have one, which is public recognition, and two, which is private recognition, right? And there is other sort of shout outs and bits and pieces you have. Now, public recognition is obviously on your Slack channel, you shouting somebody out saying, great job, Amy, you got 10 bookings yesterday, amazing, crushed it, fucking amazing, right? Another example might be if you've got a CSM that's really good, you might shout out that CSM, say, hey, good job, Jessica, you've really been pulling your weight here, you've done some great training on there, amazing, great feedback, and posting that on that side of it. So that's option one, public. And then private would be you in their DM saying, hey, Amy, you're really, really doing good at the moment, you've turned things around, amazing, excited, and you're giving them that one-to-one recognition. Now, the reason it's important to have two types is some people don't like public recognition, and actually has a negative impact on them, right? So what I always recommend doing is when you sign up a new client is ask them, say, hey, just to ask for you here, we like to award people when they do well. What recognition would you prefer? So you can do this as a Google Sheet if you prefer, and send it to all your team members, probably a good exercise. Say, look, would you rather we shout you out in public, or would you rather private, or do you like a combination of both? You'll normally find that you'll be surprised a lot of people really don't like public recognition because they get embarrassed by it. So what I would do is, if that is the case, you'd focus mostly on private recognition, and in the time that you would use public recognition would be on a team side, right? So if you're mentioning somebody else. So for us, for example, if we get good feedback from a client and they say, hey, really, really good job this month on bookings, we'll normally shout out the top 5 bookers for that client. So even if they prefer private, if they're in a team environment, there's 3 or 4 of them in there, we'll mention them just because it takes a little bit of pressure off. So recognition, so I said, you need to make sure monetary wise, they've got, said, not just getting a good base pay, they've got something they can work towards and they're growing, they feel appreciated, to have that target to always push towards. The second thing is they get recognition and they're recognized for everything. And really be honest with it, I said, all your public side, it really should be recognition based. If there's something negative, do it behind closed doors. Don't do it in public in front of everyone. And then the final thing you've got on here is career progression or role progression. Now, a couple of ways you can achieve this. So one, super easy, is obviously promotion. Really easy, you're shifting their role. The second way that you can do it is responsibility. So they can stay within the same role but have extra responsibility on the end of it. And then the third way is just titles, right? And these kind of sort of ties back into, if we're really looking at it, it kind of ties a little bit back into the monetary side of it, right? Now, what do I mean for each of these and things? So, promotion, super straightforward. If they hit, they can progress into a new role. So if it's a setter, they might become a team lead, they might become a sales manager or a sales coach. If they're a media buyer, they might go from a junior media buyer to a marketing manager or senior media buyer, whatever, some sort of progression that goes along with it. Now, the thing to have tied to that as well is a title. So if you're going to give somebody a promotion, give them a title. The thing that we like to do on Slack, and the way that we do it, is we'll have the team member's name on there. So we'll have their name, say it is Amy. We'll say it's, let's drop that out, sorry, that's terrible, right? We say, great, it's Amy, and we'll put their first name, so Amy F. And then what we do in brackets on here, we'll put their team role. So if we say, right, this is a setter, it'll say setter on that side of it. And then you might have like Jessica, so Jess A, and she might say senior setter, right? Again, it's one of those things, everyone can see it's public, it's recognition, and it's also career progression, and people like to know there's a chance to progress. If people see people been in the role for 2-3 years and there's been zero progression, it means they're stalemate and they can't grow. So you'll lose good A player people. A players always want to progress and always want to move forward. So having those names on there and giving that complete career path, even lay out when they first join, hey, start here. If you hit these checkpoints, this is where you go. So titles and promotion go hand in hand, right? It can either be a legitimate promotion where you're giving them a new role and they're doing X, Y, Z, and they're shifting, or it can just be a title promotion. Say, hey, you've been here for 6 months, you've hit certain KPIs and certain targets, you're going to become a senior appointment setter or a team appointment setter, whatever it's going to be on that side of it, right? So you can do it all roles. Like I said, for us, ties into it as well. And the final thing is, if you don't want to give a promotion, but you just want extra responsibility for people like extra responsibility because they feel useful and it builds trust and builds authority. Again, some people might not like this. It's important to go back to what kind of person they are. They might not like the pressure. So ask them, say, hey, you've been doing really, really well. Example for a call center manager, I say, hey, a call center staff member, hey, we need some help training some new team members. Would you be happy to take on some of that slack and give us a hand? Responsibility on there. Or, hey, can you help us manage the leaves? Or, hey, these questions, can you take a question shift for 1 hour? Can you do some one-to-one coaches? Can you lead a group training? Things like this. So small bits of responsibility that make people feel more useful and they take some of the pressure off of you. So these are sort of the 3 things you can buy. So if you have, like I said, not just base pay, but you have a monetary goal people can work towards from a commission point of view on the direct things they have control over and also team things. If you have recognition, either public, private, or team, like I said, find out what one they prefer. Everyone gets team recognition. Public and private depends on the person. And then you have career progression. Like I said, either a promotion they can go for, give them more responsibility, give them more titles. And then what I would do as well is with anything under the career progression ladder, I would title it back to a monetary value. So if they get a new role, you give them a pay rise. If they get a new title, tie it to a pay rise. Now, a good way to look at it when it comes to pay rises is 5 to 10% of the annual salary. Never, ever, ever jump too hard, too fast. So I've had this in the past. We give people $500 raises, $1,000 raises, and they hit the peak way too soon, and there's nothing more to push towards. So always look at a 5 to 10% increase, depending on what they're hitting, and set goals for them. So again, if you want an example, call center team member, if they're hitting KPI, you might say, hey, when you hit 500 bookings or when you hit 250 bookings, you get a 5% pay increase. When you hit 500 bookings, you get a 5% pay increase. 750, 5% pay increase, up to a certain cap that you want people to hit on. So really, really important. Now, we've done again with anything. If it's a media buyer, when you've been here for 6 months, if you have maintained on average X amount of clients under a £5 CPL, you get an increase in your bonus. If you're managing more clients, so that's what media buyer, if you're managing 50 clients, you get a bonus. So it's about tying things into what they do. So if you put those 3 things into practice, like I said, monetary, bonuses, commissions, recognition, and also career progression, you have a much better time. But just make sure this is very clear for them so people know what they're working towards and regularly check in. So like I said, have your monthly reviews, check it, say, hey, if you do this, you're going to get to this role, to get to this position. So that is all I have for today. It's a slightly different camera setup because I've got a new monitor and things on there. Hopefully you found that useful. If you've got any questions about the structures we do, the commission structure, the bonus structure, the growth structure, drop a message. I'll help it in there. Outside of that, let's fuck shit up. Let's make some money. Stay saucy. Kill it, guys.